Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today, we will unpack the absolute jaw-dropping revelation that Remy Price is the man behind the wig. His shocking blood tie to Melissa Dillon and the diabolical long game revenge plot about to tear Forrester Creations apart. Let's be real for a second, we all fell for the bait. When Friday's cliffhanger left us staring at that mysterious figure lurking behind the dress rack in the Forrester Creations design office, the entire fandom was buzzing with the exact same theory. Fans thought it was Luna Nozawa behind that dress rack. We were all convinced that Luna had somehow survived, crawled out of the woodwork and was back to wreak havoc on the canvas. The dark hair, the eerie silence, the sheer horror movie vibe of it all had us completely fooled. But on Monday's episode of The Bold and Beautiful, the wig came off, and the reality was a million times more terrifying than a resurrected Luna. The figure stepped out, pulled off that long dark wig, and Remy Price revealed himself. And if that wasn't enough to make you scream at your television, the very first words out of his mouth changed the entire landscape of the show. He looked right at Melissa Dillon and said, "We need to talk, because I am absolutely losing my mind. Can you believe it? They are cousins. Melissa Dillon, the sweet, seemingly innocent art teacher who just moved out of Will Spencer's beach house, is blood related to Remy Price. The wig was a total misdirection, a brilliant sleight of hand by the writers to keep us guessing." Melissa Dillon walked into that Forrester closet on Monday as one character, and she walked out with her entire backstory rewritten. Forrester Creations will never, ever be the same after this. The man who ruthlessly deep-faked Electra Forrester, plunging her into a months-long psychological nightmare, is Melissa Dillon's own flesh and blood. I think we need to take a massive step back and look at the absolute genius and the sheer sickness of this plot twist. For weeks, we have been watching Electra Forrester struggle with her feelings toward Dillon. Electra was right. She was devastatingly 100% right. Everyone called Electra paranoid. Will Spencer practically alienated Electra because he felt she was being too harsh on Dillon. But Electra's gut intuition was screaming at her that something was off about this woman, and she was entirely justified. The woman she could not bring herself to fully trust was literally a Remy Price installation. Many fans think Dillon is just a victim of circumstance, a poor girl who happens to have a crazy cousin, but I completely disagree. I think Dillon is complicit the very second she decides to hide this connection to protect her own comfortable life in Los Angeles. Here is the line from Monday's episode that nobody is talking about loud enough yet, and it is the key to this entire twisted saga. Remy looked at a terrified Dillon and reminded her that he got her the art teacher job. He pulled the strings. He handed over the resume, he made the connections, and now he is back to collect. That changes absolutely everything we know about the last few months of storylines. Melissa Dillon did not just stumble into Will Spencer's life by some cosmic accident. She did not accidentally land a lucrative gig at Forrester Creations. She did not just happen to be the most qualified, available teacher when Hayes Finnegan needed art instruction. Remy Price placed her there. Everything that has happened traces back to one singular, calculating decision Remy Price made when he got his cousin through those heavily guarded Forrester doors. This brings me to a feral theory that I just cannot shake. Do you think Melissa Dillon was a Remy Price operative from day one? Send your wildest theories in the comments below, because I am convinced this is the most slow-burning Forrester revenge plot we have seen in years. Remy did not just get Dillon the job as a nice favor for a relative. He planted her there. He knew she would meet Will Spencer. He knew she would get close to Electra. He knew she would become deeply enmeshed with the very family that hates him the most. And he knew that when he finally showed up to collect on his favor, he would be holding a powerful piece on the board that was already operating inside Forrester's walls. If we look back at the history of The Bold and Beautiful, this kind of long con infiltration is legendary, but it usually comes from seasoned villains. Think back to 5 or 10 years ago. Remember when Sheila Carter used to plant people like Mike Guthrie inside the Forrester infrastructure to do her bidding? Or when Quinn Fuller would manipulate people's memories and place them in entirely new lives just to keep Liam away from Steffi? Or even more recently, when Thomas Forrester used Zoe Buckingham to infiltrate Hope's life and manipulate her emotions, Remy Price is taking a page right out of the classic B&B villain playbook, but he is executing it with a modern technological twist. The deepfake of Electra was just a warm-up act. It was a distraction. Planting Dillon inside Forrester to live in Electra's house, work in Electra's company, and date Electra's ex-boyfriend was the actual diabolical master move. And what does Remy want in return for his silence? This is where it gets incredibly diabolical. He is not back to apologize to the Forresters. He is not back to make amends. He is back to collect, and what he wants is Deke Sharp. He wants his redemption arc finished. He wants the life, the romance, and the stability he had before his deepfake crimes blew his entire world apart. Remy is utterly obsessed with getting Deke back, and he has the absolute perfect leverage to force his cousin to help him achieve it. Let's break down the psychological torture Dylan is currently facing. Dylan does not want anyone in that building to know she is related to Elektra's tormentor. The very second that truth comes out, every single relationship Dylan has carefully rebuilt and nurtured at Forrester Creations evaporates into thin air. Elektra, who has been generously considering offering Dylan her forgiveness, will walk away forever and likely demand her head on a platter. Will Spencer, who has been fiercely defending Dylan and even allowed her to live in his beach house, will pull back in absolute disgust. Ridge Forrester will literally throw her out of the building himself. Her entire pretend life in Los Angeles depends entirely on keeping that dark secret buried, and Remy is the one holding the shovel. I can almost hear Remy saying it to her, "Help me get Deke back, or watch your whole pretend life burn down." It is a classic soap opera blackmail setup, but the emotional stakes are so incredibly high because of the collateral damage. The worst part of all of this is that Dylan may not even realize she has been a pawn on the board this entire time. She genuinely thought she was getting a lucky job break from a helpful relative. She did not realize that her cousin was setting up a psychological landmine. But now that she knows she has a choice, she could march right into the CEO office, tell Ridge and Steffi the truth, and take her lumps. But I think her ambition and her fear are going to win out. I think she is going to play Remy's game, and that makes her just as guilty as he is. The collateral damage of the secret is going to be astronomical. Let's look at Will Spencer. Will has been slowly falling for the cousin of the man who tormented his sister figure. The irony is absolutely tragic. Will has been fighting with RJ Forrester, screaming at him in the showroom, defending his honor, all while being completely blind to the fact that he was harboring a Trojan horse in his own beach house. When Will finds out that Dylan knew about Remy and kept it a secret, the betrayal is going to break him. It will completely validate RJ's hatred of him, proving that Will's judgment is fundamentally flawed. And what about Daphne Rose Walton? Daphne is currently offering Melissa Dillon an intriguing professional opportunity, potentially collaborating on a massive new perfume project. Daphne has no idea that she's walking her career and her reputation right into the middle of a Price family blackmail operation. Daphne just went out on a massive limb to expose Ivy Forrester's manipulation to Elektra, proving she is a woman of high moral character. If Daphne gets dragged down in Dylan's toxic secrets, it could ruin her standing at Forrester, just when she and Carter are dealing with their own heartbreaking infertility struggles. Forrester Creations is about to find out what was really happening right under their noses, and the explosion is going to be epic. We are talking about a company that has the worst building security in the history of television. How does a man in a long dark wig just wander into the design office and hide behind a dress rack? It's crazy. Ridge Forrester is already at his boiling point with hope. Logan threatening to quit, and RJ brawling in the showroom. When Ridge discovers that the man who digitally assaulted his niece has a blood relative on the payroll, he is going to lose his mind. I think the next few weeks are going to be a masterclass in psychological tension. Remy Price is deciding when to drop the next piece of the puzzle. He is going to force Dylan to manipulate Deke Sharp, perhaps using Liam Spencer's recent pitch to bring Deke over to Logan Fashion as a way to get Deke back into the corporate fold. Dylan is going to have to lie to Will, lie to Elektra, and lie to Daphne every single day. The guilt is going to eat her alive, but the fear of losing her Forrester paycheck will keep her silent. Ultimately, this storyline is a brilliant callback to the core themes of The Bold and the Beautiful. Family, loyalty, betrayal, and the lengths people will go to protect their secrets. Remy Price has elevated himself from a creepy deep faker to a master manipulator pulling the strings of the entire younger generation. Melissa Dillon is trapped in a nightmare of her own making, and the countdown to the truth exploding has officially begun. I cannot wait to see how Will Spencer reacts when he realizes he was sleeping under the same roof as the enemy.